Welcome to Team Historical. Your journey through the epic stories of the past begins now.
Today, we're going to deconstruct one of history's most terrifying questions. We're going to break down the specific steps, that perfect storm of conditions that allowed a seemingly unremarkable man to become an absolute tyrant and plunge the entire world into darkness. So, let's get into it.
Right. This is the central puzzle, isn't it? How does this happen? And it's not just about one man's ambition, you see. It's about a nation's desperation, the sheer power of words, and just how fragile democracy can really be. To understand the end, we have to go all the way back to the beginning.
So, long before he was any kind of political figure, Adolf Hitler was a young man filled with dreams and, more importantly, a growing bitterness that would eventually curdle into a truly destructive ideology.
Okay, on one side, you've got this aspiring artist, right? He gets rejected not once, but twice by the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts and ends up living in poverty. On the other side, you have the soldier, stuck in the trenches of World War I. The trauma of that war and the absolute humiliation of Germany's defeat, well, it didn't just affect him, it defined him. This is the moment where his personal sense of failure merged with a national one, and that created this incredibly potent and dangerous resentment.
But here's the thing. Hitler's personal anger would have meant absolutely nothing if there wasn't an entire nation ready to listen. Post-World War I Germany was a country on its knees, a society just teetering on the brink of total collapse.
Let's just look at the conditions on the ground for a second. The Treaty of Versailles, it forced Germany to take all the blame for the war and pay these crippling reparations. This led to hyperinflation so insane that people's life savings became worthless. Money was literally cheaper than wallpaper. Unemployment just skyrocketed, and all this deep, simmering anger was pointed right at their own government. And that quote just nails it, doesn't it? When people are desperate, when they feel like their leaders have completely failed them and their future is gone, they become incredibly vulnerable. This chaos wasn't just some backdrop to the story. It was the fertile soil where extremism could really take root and grow.
So, into this vacuum of leadership and hope steps Hitler. He didn't create the anger that was already there, but man, did he learn how to harness it, how to give it a voice, and crucially, a direction.
You know, his political journey started out super small. In 1919, he joins this tiny little group called the German Workers' Party. But he very quickly takes it over, rebrands it as the Nazi Party. And this is where he discovers his one real talent, public speaking. He was this absolutely mesmerizing speaker who could tap directly into the public's worst fears and frustrations, channeling all that rage into a powerful political force.
Now, what's really fascinating here is just how simple his message was. To a nation that felt weak, he promised strength. To a people feeling humiliated, he promised to restore their pride. And to everyone suffering economically, he promised recovery. These weren't complex policy debates. They were powerful, emotional promises that anyone and everyone could latch onto.
His first big grab for national power was a complete and utter failure. The Beer Hall Putsch in 1923, an attempt to overthrow the government in Munich, was crushed almost immediately. Hitler gets arrested, thrown in prison, but what seemed like a huge defeat actually turned into a massive strategic victory. His trial gave him a national stage, and all that time in prison, it gave him time to write. While he was locked up, he really started to clarify his worldview. An essential piece of it was this concept, Lebensraum, or living space. Now, this wasn't just a policy idea. It was a declaration that Germany had a fundamental right to expand and conquer territory for its people, mostly in Eastern Europe. His book, Mein Kampf, which means My Struggle, literally laid out the blueprint for everything that was about to happen. It was this toxic cocktail of vicious anti-Semitism, the belief in a superior Aryan race, and of course the demand for Lebensraum. The warning signs were all right there, written down for the whole world to see.
For years, the Nazi Party was still kind of on the political fringes, a radical sideshow. But then, another global crisis hit, and it gave Hitler the exact opening he needed to seize power, not with a coup this time, but through the ballot box.
Just look at this chart. The Great Depression of 1929 was the final catalyst. It slammed into Germany with devastating force, wiping out savings and jobs overnight. To the millions who are now unemployed, Hitler promised work. To a middle class terrified of losing everything, he offered stability and scapegoats. All of a sudden, his extremist message didn't sound so radical anymore. To desperate people, it sounded like a solution. The speed of his takeover is just astonishing.
In January 1933, the traditional politicians, completely underestimating him, made him chancellor, thinking they could control him. Big mistake. By February, after a suspicious fire at the Reichstag, he used an emergency decree to ban all opposition parties. By March, just 2 months after taking office, he had effectively dismantled German democracy and established a one-party state. It was that fast. So how did he hold on to power? Through this brutal, two-pronged strategy. On one side, you have absolute terror. The Gestapo secret police, the SS, and the first concentration camps for anyone who disagreed with him. On the other side, total mind control through propaganda, masterminded by Joseph Goebbels. The media, culture, even kids through the Hitler Youth. Everyone and everything was indoctrinated with Nazi ideology. With Germany now firmly in his grip, Hitler turned his attention to actually fulfilling the terrifying promises he'd made in Mein Kampf. And the result, well, it would be a catastrophe of truly unimaginable proportions. On September 1st, 1939, German troops invaded Poland. The quest for Lebensraum had officially begun. This single act of aggression triggered the start of the Second World War, the deadliest conflict in all of human history. But the war was not the only horror. The racist ideology at the very core of Nazism led directly to the Holocaust. 6 million. 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were systematically and industrially murdered. It remains one of the greatest crimes ever committed by humanity.
And it's absolutely critical to remember that the Nazi regime's campaign of murder went far beyond the Jewish people. Millions of others, including Roma, people with disabilities, Poles, Soviet prisoners of war, and really anyone who dared to politically oppose the regime, they were also persecuted and killed.
This reign of terror finally came to an end in 1945. With Allied forces closing in on all sides and Berlin completely in ruins, Hitler committed suicide in his bunker. Just a few days later, the Nazi regime totally collapsed, leaving behind a continent in ashes.
So, after all that, what are we supposed to take away from this? Well, we see the terrifying power of propaganda to literally shape reality. We see how fear and economic crisis can make people so vulnerable to dictators. It's a stark reminder of just how fragile democracy can be, and a chilling lesson on the dangers of nationalism when it gets twisted into a doctrine of pure hate. And that leaves us with a final, really sobering question. History shows that when societies are under extreme pressure, the very person who promises salvation can become the architect of ruin. It's a question worth thinking about, not just about the past, but about our present and our future.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and join Team Historical to uncover more stories from history.